Hey guys, Dustin Wynn.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Everything Batman podcast. I'm your guest, Dunk, or maybe DPD, but we'll talk about that later. Today's guest, we got the Ham Squad. Hey guys.
Hey. First off, awesome intro. Really love it.
Thanks. The song is actually an original song of a friend of mine who does music, and he gave me like this list. He's like, "Hey, pick whatever you want," and I was like, "He's gonna sue me one day." And it was like, I think there was like about, I don't know, 25 or 30 different like things to choose from. And I'm like, I like that one. But the better part is all the people who jump in, well, all the creators that jump in and actually help us with the intro.
Yeah, was that really Kevin Conroy? Like the Oh wow.
Yeah. It's tough listening to after he passed away. It's like now I listen to it, I'm like, God damn it. Like I kind of want to take it off, but it's like, no, it's like,
no, he lives on.
He's still with us.
There you go. Bat Force forever.
Yeah, all day. But guys, thank you for joining. I know it's a little late in the evening, not too late, but just a quick background. WickedCon just passed about a week and a half ago, and the booth that I was working at was set up in front of these lovely human beings. But we really didn't get to chat until the second day, and we'll get into that later. But I was intrigued in what you guys are selling at this location. And funny story is, it wasn't the first time that I came across the game of ham. The first time, I believe, and I think we chatted a little bit about this, it was over at Baltimore Comic-Con 2 years ago, where I received the flyer. And somehow our worlds cross again. Well, talk to us a little bit about the game.
Sure thing.
Sure. You want to go ahead?
You're the ham.
Well, it's the game of hating all mankind, and it's like Cards Against Humanity meets the board game Sorry, cranked a few notches darker. That's how we pitch it, and sort of aims to improve the mechanics and replayability, and go the next level in the evolution of the genre, I guess you could say.
Awesome. Yeah. So how did that idea come about?
As all great ideas do, boredom. I literally finished a contract position and I had some free time on my hands. My sister got me a really terrible knockoff of Cards Against Humanity. It was like Horrors Amidst Insanity or something like that.
Something from Wish?
Yeah, well, sort of. It was from some random flea market, 20 cards, $20. And I'm like, did you really get this? And she did. But I guess it's a good thing because you pair that with boredom and a lot of time on your hands, and you end up getting something like this here. So it started off with us working on it together for a little bit. She got bored of it really quickly. And obviously, when you have time on your hands, you go wild. Originally, I was going to do like a expansion to Cards Against Humanity just for the fun of it. And then I realized, wait a second, I'm actually pretty good at this. And then from there, I realized there were a lot of things that annoyed the crap out of me with the genre as a whole, because I played a lot of those kind of games. And one by one sort of improved upon it and expanded it. And eventually the goal is to actually incorporate other genres of games into the fold, things that aren't party games necessarily, but could tie into it like a giant puzzle piece. But that's something that's in the works.
Nice. What annoyed you from other games? Like anything specific?
Well, one thing that drove me nuts that I didn't even start mentioning at conventions, but now it's sort of one of the things I talk about first, is the grammar between the questions and answer cards didn't flow together. So it would be like Me Go Park now when you pair the question and answer. And I guess you could say it was a neurotic little idiosyncrasy. So I created my own verbal algorithm essentially to make it so every action as well as noun interchangeably works with every question as well as prompt. So that was for me, but now apparently I realize other people care about that. So now it's one of the things I mentioned first. Not knowing the reference, because I'm awful with pop culture. So I utilize, and I'm a Magic player, or I used to play Magic the Gathering a whole lot. So one thing that I really liked was the little flavor text, they called it at the bottom, or at least that's what I call it, So I utilize that as something in this game where now there's little descriptions, but a lot of the time things like a sad penis needs no explanation. So a lot of the time it's just that
You
extra
would be
hot
surprised,
sauce.
right?
But I have met people who don't know things that I think everyone knows. Stuff like walrus, for example, was the example I like to bring up. Someone didn't know what a walrus was. So now I like to pretend everything is someone who doesn't speak English as a first language or something.
I mean,
So I try to make it very intuitive with a little witty remark in there too. Another thing that drove me really nuts, I could go on here for a little bit, so cut me off whenever,
I'm ready.
is I found that with the expansions in games, it felt like you were getting more of the same thing. So
I agree.
went a different direction where it became sort of like a brain flex for me. How can I make something that's one thing tie in with something that's drastically different in a way that makes sense? And that led to our expansion design, which we call seasonings for your pork, which is one of the selling points we really love to dish out to people at conventions. And actually, we're working on a menu now because now it's getting a little cumbersome where we have to explain everything and it just eats up so much time. So it's literally going to be a fancy menu that we hand people that they could actually walk away with. We really lean into this here.
Hell of a job doing it. Like, wow.
Well, you got to have some
Seasoning.
fun with it. And another thing is the replayability of games like this. A lot of the time, the game just kind of keeps going and going and going until someone passes out at the table. Because let's face it, a lot of the time it's with some drinks,
Yes.
or people just flat out get up and walk away. And that kind of kills the replayability. So basically, we make people get a lot more content up front, which is one way we tackled the replayability issue. But we also incorporated a board game component. And the board game component actually leads to definitive end goals. And those end goals allow people to actually know when the game ends.
also, you get to fuck your friends over. So
Yes, all the while you
Bonus.
power up ability cards, which allow a
That's
lot
awesome.
of interaction. And the concept here was the board affects the cards and the card affects the boards, creating a really push and pull kind of mechanic here, which ties in pretty well. And the
So
board
there's
is
like strategy you have to use in order to
yes.
try to
And it was
win.
designed with some predefined things. It's a double-sided board with two different distinct boards that mathematically, from point A to point B, the start to finish, it's always going to be the same no matter what direction you go on each one. But it's designed to be modular, so you could actually flip it around, and it doesn't have to be linear either. It's four boards that typically go side by side together. But
Okay.
you could also mix them so they could go different ways too. So you could create squares and all kinds of designs, and it's sort of
you can tell he's proud of it.
Is it one of the pictures you guys sent me? Because I want to see if there's a visual here. Is it? Oh,
yes,
here we go.
four board
Yeah, there you go.
pieces. There you go.
So the boards are over here on the,
Mhm.
I guess,
On the
our
right,
right hand. Yeah.
Yeah, and you
Okay.
can rearrange them however you like.
And that's actually another thing too. The 16 player count. For as long as I can
Up to
remember.
16 players.
Yes. And that was another sort of brain
Okay.
flex designing something. Let's put it this way. There's a reason most people don't tackle it for a board game. And it was a little tough to figure out. But by doing some simple things, now people could play to 16 players without it being a cumbersome thing that gets weighed down and could never finish. As well as a 24-page rule book with different mix and match things you could mix it around that could help speed the game up, slow it down, as well as change it to points where you're playing with gambling, smoking, drinking, and you could pick it all and choose how you want with 24 pages to pick from, as well as
Jesus.
team game modes and a whole lot more.
You really put a lot of thought behind this.
Took a little over 2 years to get to a publication point.
Okay.
And I guess a touch of obsession, but the end result is pretty good. Took a long time to get it right. Had a lot of people who didn't speak English as a first language test it because I wanted to make it. If I could make a game that works for people who don't speak English as a first language, then I made something that an English speaker could easily play.
That's the issue I have with Cards Against Humanity a lot of times because I'm not from the United States. So a lot of the references, I wouldn't know what it means. And then you would be the awkward situation of, I don't know if should I play this card? Is it funny? It's not, it puts you in a weird position. Or even if you're the judge and you have all these cards, you don't even know how to pronounce certain words. It just makes it awkward. So
that's huge. That's huge to actually have like at least a description or something for someone to understand, what you're putting down. And you're right. Cards Against Humanity. No, it just has like the answer, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the time you don't understand the reference.
Yeah,
But what was
even I just randomly throw stuff down, and I don't even know what this is, but okay, maybe it's funny, and
well, actually, I'm glad you
hope for the
mentioned that
best.
too. Because the way we designed the cards is we designed it so those descriptions at the bottom were purposely designed in a way where the eye doesn't notice it most of the time. So it was done so that was the case because some people want to play with that experience, and we didn't want to take that away.
Yeah,
So unless the person points it out, and this is something convention after convention, and this is sort of like
it's always grandma's and it's
the
always
Copperfield.
bukkake.
Yeah.
the print's so small.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's sort of our Copperfield thing where we let people look at the cards for a while, and then we're like, by the way, did you know there's even a definition here? And then most of the time, no one notices it. Some people do, but more often than not, no one does, and that was on purpose because it starts the conversation. And some people want to troll their friends and say, go on Google image search,
Oh,
which always starts another conversation. And you would be surprised. And this is something we started mentioning at conventions too. I started doing a tally because we always mention we put it so some people want to explain to grandma what bukkake is, and we don't want to deprive you. And of course, that always starts a conversation. And I started keeping a tally because every weekend we hear at least 10 people. It's almost always grandma, sometimes mom, once in a while a great aunt or something, but it's always bukkake. It's a real problem, and we do this across the country. So that's something we didn't
We're
realize
here
too.
to educate people, you know. This is the cost.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like what show where someone was yelling it? There's a show where someone was yelling it, and they're like, they're just yelling bukkake, and it's like, you can't yell that, and like, why not? And I'm just like, yo, what the hell's going on? Why are you saying that? That's
And
funny.
because of games like Cards Against Humanity, now most people know what it is, and most found out the hard way, I'm sure.
We're just slowly, corrupting the world via games.
There you go.
In a good way, I guess, right? Because it's fun and funny, especially if people don't. Well, if you don't know what the word is and you're saying it, oh man, it's a fun.
Well, that adds a layer too, which is something some people like, which is why I made it that way. But that's the nice thing too. That was another thing that drove me nuts with Cards Against Humanity. It felt like you slapped your knee, and that was sort of it with a lot of the punchlines. And by having descriptions, I'm one of those people. You know how in a friends group, there's the guy who's like the encyclopedia or whatever.
Yeah,
that's kind of like me in a lot of the friends group. So it was my chance to sort of bottle my unique humor as well as sort of my Wikipedia type random ass knowledge all in one place, which of course people actually learn shit, which is why in the rule book it says be a terrible person and still learn stuff. So
that's awesome. I should, well, next time I see you guys, I need to get one because I gotta look at this stuff. So it took you about 2 years to have the game set up and find a publisher.
Well, we didn't go through a publisher. It's self-published.
Self-published. Okay. And as I know, we talked at the show about this, and you guys decided about a year ago to just say, F my job. This is what the fuck we're doing. Balls to the wall. Entrepreneurs, motherfuckers. How much time between it being self-published and making that decision?
Well, we self-published in the end of 2019. He did. I'm the supportive wife here, but yeah.
No, you're part of it now. You have your own business card. You got to show them.
Well, you're in now. That's it.
We got her business card recently. She's the CBO, the Chief Bacon Officer.
I hate you. But yeah, we self-published at the end of 2019, and then obviously the pandemic hit, so that was a really shitty timing for board games. Because people could, not for board games, for party board games, because people couldn't meet or hang out.
Oh no, not party board games because they still had children. Adult party board games. Yes. So let's be even more specific.
So it's a very niche thing that we entered that kind of backfired because of the whole COVID situation. So we then started doing conventions full time last year. So I was in graduate school. And I literally skipped my graduation to just go on this road trip and sell ham, I guess.
We became friendly local ham dealers.
Yes. Like butchers.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. A lot of people just love the brand, I guess you could say, the randomness of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people always ask us what it is. And there was a bit of bad luck as well, because when we did start this, and there was a plan to do conventions, the circuit we're doing now, we booked it for 2020, and
we all know what happened then.
Yeah,
the year that didn't exist.
It didn't work out. I mean, to give you an idea of just how bad the luck was, we had back-to-back conventions with the first one starting 1 week before, I believe it was March 20th, if I remember correctly. And if you remember history, that was literally 7 days before. No, sorry, it wasn't March 20th. March 20th was the first event. March 13th, I think, is when it
That was my last day at the office with everyone. Yeah.
That was when
Friday the
national
13th.
pandemic, everything's fucked, and it became real rough for a while. I mean, for a while we made do by reaching out to different stores, and believe me, I had no idea just how many game stores there were in the country. Take a guess how many you think there are. Just throw me a number. Random mom and pop shops.
Random mom throughout the country?
Yes, that's our board game stores. Let's be specific.
I don't know. Around 1,500?
Just about a little over 2,000.
Okay. I was going to go for 3. I was going to go with a Hail Mary.
Yeah, I mean, it to give you an idea, to compile a list like that, working essentially a 9 to 5 kind of thing, to compile that list took just about 3 months. And then going through that list while doing it, well, let's just put it this way. That was
a lot of phone calls.
Yeah, I'm never doing that again. I mean, this is
bringing it back to like back in the days when you just picked up the phone and called people.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, reaching the right person. I mean,
yeah.
That is, and phone tag, that's the absolute worst. Yeah. And networking with content creators too. So now there's a whole lot of that going on. But the unofficial answer to say when we really came out, because the plague wasn't so great, was we started doing it. Convention started August 2021, but now we're doing it full time as of May 2022. And it's perhaps the best decision we've done.
Yeah, you guys are like trying to talk me into like entrepreneurship as well. F my job and just.
Well, I can say right now I'm way happier.
I bet I
go.
Joke about it all the time, and
well, just be prepared because it does come with a certain amount of sleepless nights. Let's put it that way.
I'm already doing that. So
I don't know.
Hey Wayne, if Wayne, just in case you watch this episode, because my boss is like scared shitless of me quitting, you get a 2-month notice, okay?
I told your responsibility, by the way.
I told him, I was like, dude, I could just quit right now and be perfectly fine. And he's just like, what? And he's like, you need to give me like a 2-month notice. And I was like, all right, I'll give you a 2-month notice after San Diego Comic-Con. 2-month notice.
That's one we really want to do too. Next year for us, though.
Yeah. That one apparently is like real hard to get a table at, from what I hear. Even for like comic artists and stuff. I'm hearing around like how, you know, it is the biggest Comic-Con of the year. And it's for the first time I'm going to go this year, and I am hearing like how hard it is to get a table, and I'm like, I'm going to find out who do I have to meet to know that person. So I could
some dick pics, you know.
Yeah, there you go. Win them over.
I don't know if that's going to work.
They need it.
What do you think about that?
I mean, New York Comic-Con and San Diego are some of the hardest, but I'm finding a lot of the Fan Expo shows are pretty challenging too. I mean, MegaCon, we missed out on that. We were really hopeful, but next year we spoke. We're in, which we're.
Yo, Rich, you got to make sure you get them a damn table, dude.
Yeah, no, he told us at Wicked. He said, "I'm guaranteeing you a table because I felt bad you didn't get in there."
Rich is documented. All right,
Rich, better come through.
I had him on. Hold on, he was 3 episodes ago. Yeah, 3 episodes ago, I had him on, and we were chatting about this stuff.
Yeah, his background is comics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, MegaCon's like the one that like he's always like, well, last year was his first year. He was like nervous about, and I'm like, dude, you're fine. Like, you know, MegaCon and C2E2 happened the same weekend this year.
Yeah. We were at C2E2
and he was just like, yo, I'm kind of nervous, but I think we're good. And I'm like, no, you're good. Like everyone's going to come to MegaCon just because it's cold in Chicago.
Yeah, I think when it came down to the 2 destination shows, MegaCon was the more popular one.
Yeah, I even some artists that we spoke to that were at MegaCon, we're at C2E2. We're like, yeah, we should have went to MegaCon. And I was like, I told you should have went to MegaCon if you didn't listen to me.
Good luck getting in is the problem.
Yeah. So the con circuit. So you decided to say, F my job. Pandemic shit happened. Let's call these places and hopefully make sure that we could pay our rent, and put some ham in our mouth, and bring home the bacon at least. What was that when you finally got the first couple of cons? Like, what was that experience like?
Well, the first con was the one that we were most nervous about, and
Yeah.
that was Anime Central, which we're doing again this
Okay.
year. Now, let's put it this way: it was a very good show,
In Chicago.
Nice.
and we weren't even necessarily in like one of the best locations. We were right in the way back of the wall,
Oh,
but it was still fantastic. And yeah, for those who don't know Anime Central, it's in Rosemont, same place as Fan Expo Chicago. So we did that, and it was very good. And then we followed that up. What was the show after that? I don't even remember. We basically had a long string of really good profit
Yeah,
margins.
Boston, right? We went to ASN and came back to the East Coast.
I'm not sure. I would need
when
to
was
check.
when was that one? It was May of
The
last
summer.
year.
May 13th was when it was last year ASN. I'm trying to remember what was after that.
The only thing
Yeah,
there was
we had
MegaCon
that
after
We
that.
actually-
because we then had
Yeah, I don't
C2
remember.
did you guys do C2E2 last year?
Yeah, we did do C2E2. So basically, when we
Okay.
did
It was a
quit,
lot. Ooh, wow.
when we did, when I quit, we got a RV, we got a pickup truck, not the nicest ones, but they
Got to
did
start
get-
somewhere.
we got it from A
It
to
got-
B to C to D.
We
so-
almost made it to Chicago. I mean,
Oh, right.
I drive a Honda Fit, and for those who don't know what a Honda Fit is, imagine like a smart car but a little bigger.
And
this is what
Well,
I drove most of my life. The biggest
I mean,
car
as
ever.
as a tall person, it's like you're taller.
Oh
than that.
yeah.
We're all above 6
Oh no,
feet
I'm
here in
6'3",
this-
and I'm pretty convinced that thing messed up my knee permanently. Let's just put it this way: people call it a clown car. So that's what I drove, and I went from driving this little thing to driving a 8-foot bed F-250 Ford pickup truck
Nice.
with a 26-foot
trailer.
trailer, tow behind trailer.
Yep.
And I never had experience with that. Let's just put it that way. And we almost made it to Chicago without an
What?
issue, until the tire freaking exploded.
On what?
Well,
Yeah, no, we were driving, and then just in the middle of bumfuck Ohio, this
Ohio sucks.
and when I say the tire exploded, I don't mean like it popped. I mean it popped and took a chunk of the RV with it.
Oh man.
no risk, no fun.
Yeah. So that was fun. Ended up getting a tick that day. That was exciting.
Oh, I
You got a
forgot-
tick too after that?
Oh yeah. And it wasn't even like I went in the grass very long. And mind you, it's like the middle of May, hot as balls,
Yeah. In
bumfuck
Ohio.
with no one there to
Help.
Yes.
help.
Yeah, it sounds like Ohio. Sorry guys.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
guys, like,
that's kind of what happened.
everyone
And
trashes
even to this
Jersey,
day-
so I trash Ohio.
Well, no, it's nothing. I mean, but Iowa, that's even more bumfuck. I never realized how much corn this country has until we went to Iowa. I mean, before we started doing this trip, I'm a Connecticut boy. Okay, I went to school in New York. I've been to Connecticut. I did one day trip to DC where I had to work, so I didn't even see the damn place. And I flew there and flew back, so it's not even like I saw
Oh, so
the
you saw
drive down.
nothing.
Yeah, so I saw like nothing in the country. Now all of a sudden I went from Connecticut to Chicago, then to DC, then to Columbus. That's where our luck sort of ran out. Origins was the only show of the year where we ever did total garbage. And after that, we went to Dallas, Denver, back to
again.
Chicago. That's where we got to enjoy Iowa in all its glory. Spent the 4th of July in bumfuck Nebraska. Omaha.
Like a
Well,
true-
okay, not
I
bumfuck.
felt like a true American.
But let's put it this way: have you been to Omaha, Nebraska?
Why?
Yeah, that's kind of how we just stopped because it's like that or corn. But
Why?
actually, interesting thing to know, it's the only you've been to enough large cities to sort of get the feel of what they're all like.
Oh, 100%.
This is the only large city where the cornfields were in the city.
Okay.
That's what
Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska is.
Yeah, that's like the largest city. Okay.
Yeah, that's their large city, and it had freaking corn in the middle of the freaking.
That's where you
city.
find Nebraska, nothing but corn.
But one thing I will say about Nebraska, these are people who take the 4th of July very seriously.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
I could appreciate some good fireworks off by the water.
Did you drive there? Were you F-250?
Yeah, we did this whole drive.
Oh, so
We-
you were in, bro. You have your F-250. You're right in there.
Yeah. We're in this
We
campground.
blended in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
True
just needed an
American.
Americana hat, and you would have been just
There you go.
fucking chilling.
Cowboy hat,
There you go.
the
And-
AK-47 in the back.
I remember we go walking, and it was like everywhere you look, fireworks all around, and not like these cheap, let me get those
No.
bottle rockets. We're talking the real deal, and not the ones that like sort of explode. We're talking the ones that you might as well be professional grade.
Yeah, you buy that
Fireworks.
massive box. Here we go. I know about this because you buy them at Walmart, depending on what part of the country you are. You just light the box up and you're just there for 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, it was a good time for Walmart. Let's put it that way. I mean, we recorded it too. Nowhere else have I ever been where just for the 4th of July, you couldn't look anywhere without seeing the fireworks going. A full 360.
But we were at a campground where we stayed with our camper, and there was a little lake, so all around the lake,
yeah,
all the
pretty
fireworks
nice.
going off. So it was actually really pretty.
That's actually pretty fun. There's a couple of lakes up here in upstate New York, and I remember when I was living on the lake when I first moved up here. 4th of July was no joke. Everyone was on their boats and like just barbecuing by the lake and everything, and getting shit faced. And once it got dark and like 9:30 hit, it's like, all right, guys, fireworks are gonna go up, and everyone's just like, choo, choo, choo. And I'm like, all right, and everyone with their boats just laying there because the fucking sun beat the shit out of them all day. But yeah, that's some America shit.
Oh yeah, Nebraska takes the fireworks seriously.
No, I'm really glad that we got the opportunity to just say fuck it and just travel the country and get to see all these different places, because I don't think
no way we would have done it otherwise.
Not everyone has the privilege to do that. So
Yeah.
I am grateful that we got the chance to do
That's
that.
awesome.
And it might be kind of like burning the candle from both ends, but it is
still
a hell of an experience to really be able to do that and still make money on the road.
Yeah.
So do you guys drive everywhere?
So last year we did 2 big trips. The first one was the one I was mentioning from DC to Columbus, to Dallas, Denver, Chicago, back.
And the miles.
The second one, when we were in Dallas, we flew back to Philadelphia to do Too Many Games. Have you done that show? It's over in
no.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's outside Philly. It gets like 20,000 people. Game show. So we flew back for that. And then the second trip we did was our West Coast expansion. So that's when we went to, that was C2E2, I think. Yeah, we went to C2E2. Then we had Fan Expo Boston, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. We had one show in Chicago. Then we had to fly back to Boston. I think those were the 2 shows. And then my dad decided to live out his childhood dream or whatever of taking this camper from Chicago to Seattle over the course of 2 weeks.
Whoa.
So he had a blast.
That's a drive.
Yeah. Well, he was living it up. He got to see all the sights he wanted to see on the way over the course of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we met up with him in Seattle and then did some shows in Seattle, Oregon,
Salt Lake.
Salt Lake. Yeah, Salt Lake.
Oh, damn, you guys hit all the major cities. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Salt Lake, that was one of the best shows of the year. That was fantastic.
Was that great? Was that the best show because of I guess profitability or just like overall experience?
Well, overall experience. Well, if you go by experience, we're talking profitability.
From last year, this year, best show was PAX East, I have to say.
Yeah, PAX East is now #1. Period.
Nice.
Fan X Salt Lake might have been. It was top 3 for sure. It might have been top show last year.
Yeah,
that was a good show, and we got to see why it was called Salt Lake. I don't know if you've ever been. Have you been? Well,
that's why you're telling me this show, and I'm like, I might have to go out there and check it out.
Well, one cool thing. So the salt they throw on the ground
in winter.
In winter, people don't just throw salt on the ground. Yeah,
just walk outside. Starting my day.
To do just during winter.
It's very American.
Well, now I know where it comes from because we ended up making the drive. It was like an hour and a half or something north, or an hour and a half somewhere. I don't know where the fuck I went. Anyway, so we went to an hour and a half. I don't know if you've seen those videos on Facebook where it's like these waters that are like a straight up mirror. You could see the sky, and it's like you're walking in clouds, kind of,
and like a fucking calendar.
It was that kind of experience. It was really cool. And
that's awesome.
Of course, you had some assholes just doing wheelies in the freaking
on the salt pads.
Yeah, in the middle of the salt. That must have been great for the bottom of their cars. But yeah,
the
so
sacrifice they're willing
just
to make.
miles and miles of that salt you find on the ground without seeing anything but the salt on the ground. It looked like someone put it there. It was incredible
and bright as hell
and middle of nowhere. So. And then there were some puddles, and the puddles, because of the salt content, were what gave that mirror effect. It was
oh,
cool.
All right, I gotta check that out. I never knew that. I was like, Salt Lake City. All right, cool. Yeah, whatever. And then it's like, you're
Yeah.
telling me the story. I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
so
okay. It makes sense now.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lake at Salt Lake, but it stunk, and
Yeah.
it was an overall disappointing
Because
experience.
the amount
But
of salt in there is just outrageous.
well, no, that wasn't it. It was like whatever it was. Low tide smell.
Yeah.
Like imagine that amplified, and that's what the experience was
but
like.
it also has higher salt content than
No, no shit. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
freaking Salt Lake.
yeah, but
It's-
it sort of stinks. Like
It's
bad.
tough with lakes because when that does happen, you get the odor of like dead fish and stuff that pops out. And there's a certain season when that happens, depending on the lake. I went through that, and we had lake water in the house.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, I started buying like the 5-gallon spring water. So I used to bathe in that because that lake water was just not it.
There you go. Felt like lake water.
I like walked out smelling like Aquaman.
There you go. Well, there you go. Get closer to
Nice.
the DC universe that way.
Yeah, every day of my life. It's so dark. So after Salt Lake City,
Salt Lake, we then went. So we ended up getting land down in bumfuck Arizona, because originally our plan was to sort of start setting up different bases so we could
Okay.
fly places and sort of have places to pick up.
Like inventory.
Yeah,
you know?
inventory at
Yeah.
different locations. But then
Yeah.
we changed gears because Laura was going to have a position over at Yale. So we were going to do, so we
Nice.
moved things from Arizona to Connecticut. Oh, and we pulled off that drive in 3 days from Arizona to Connecticut. That
shit.
was
Oh, so
40
you guys
hours.
alternate? It was like-
That time we did. Yeah, most of the driving prior to that was me. But that one I said, Laura, we're trading off of this because I'm not doing this. And I had no idea how cold Arizona gets because
At
we
night?
did this
In
in
the
November.
desert, it's fucking cold.
oh,
Yeah, we did it in November. Where
So you guys didn't get deep into Arizona. I'm assuming you stay like North Arizona.
It's 2 hours
It
south
was-
of Las Vegas.
Kingman,
Okay.
Literally.
Okay.
north
which is
Arizona.
2 hours south. Although one cool thing, the property is 13 miles away from one of the Grand Canyon sides, so
Nice.
we're able to see the Grand Canyon. Although it just looks like a giant rock, we don't see any of the nice stuff. But it's still cool to have that there.
It's close enough.
We were originally going to be there in order to get our inventory moved to the East Coast, but then the shipping company fucked up, so we got stranded. And I guess there's worse places to spend Thanksgiving than Las Vegas. I had no idea. Did you know you could get a 5-star hotel in Vegas for like $20 a night?
They're cheap. That's off season.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you know what? This is fine. I mean, Vegas
That's when you
isn't
should
like-
go. You should go in the off season. I don't know why everyone goes when it's 120 degrees out. Like go
Yeah,
when it's
it was
off.
actually pretty pleasant. It was not bad, and it was a little chilly. I mean, it was
I'm not a
50
Vegas
degrees,
girl.
but it wasn't bad. I mean, Vegas isn't necessarily my kind of city, but there's worse places to spend Thanksgiving than freaking Vegas.
Apparently there's a lot of good
Because-
food there outside of the strip, though.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
learning-
Yeah, no, originally we were looking for food on the strip, and it was no. I said fuck that. The first night I said fuck it, and then we just looked up places and drove. Perks of having
Yes.
a car down there.
Yeah, if not, you're
because
paying
we
so much
left
for
it there.
cabs.
Yeah, we left it there from when we went to Salt Lake. Ended up doing a bunch of stuff in with New York Comic Con and all that, and then we flew back, hoping to get that going. We spent the first night out in Arizona, and we were going to stay in the camper, but we didn't have any power in it, and we didn't pack for winter
And
because
it got cold.
we weren't expecting that. No, it was the coldest freaking night of my life. Next day, first thing I did, go to Walmart, get 2 of the biggest blankets I could find. And then I said, fuck it, I'm not spending this night here. I just said, we're going to Vegas. And we went to Vegas, and it was actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
Didn't
Did you
get
guys,
any shows, but
That's the first thing I was going to ask. I mean, did you get any Broadway shows? Because like,
No.
no,
that's
I
what-
wanted to, but it was closed like
It
the
was
whole
most
time.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Nobody was there. It's just us in the
Well, no, there were other very
Yeah.
lonely people.
yeah.
There
some
were other
homeless.
lonely souls.
Alright,
But
so that's pretty cool. Still
yeah,
cool.
so that was, but the drive back wasn't so cool. I could honestly say I can't say I'm never doing it again. I'm never willfully seeking that again because those 2 blankets still only went so far.
Never say never.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
know-
you driving
know that
back from
movie Without
Vegas,
Battle?
that cold. It's like that. What you started hitting the Northeast, and it got cold again. So it's like,
No, it was cold all the way through. I promise
Yeah.
you. And like I said, I had no idea Arizona got so cold. But you know the movie Without a Paddle?
Yeah.
Where there's like that cave scene where it's like you just got to huddle for warmth. I never identified so much with a movie in my life than that exact moment. And I was under these two things, these two heavy blankets, along with what we our light blankets,
covered in hoodies.
Covered in hoodies.
Oh my God.
And yeah, no, I don't know how the homeless do it.
I've
just gonna flat out say it.
Funny that you mentioned that. There was this that was a thing we did in college, and it was my fraternity and I decided to sign up, and it was called Night Without a Home, right? And I worked at a warehouse at the time. I think this was like my junior year. It was my senior year at college. So I went to this warehouse and picked up a boatload of boxes, and it was Night Without a Home. It was the week before Thanksgiving in North Jersey, and we had to build like a home for ourselves and like sleep outside for the night the week before Thanksgiving in North New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I remember I walked out, I had jeans, I had sweats, I like got newspaper and started shoving it down my pants. We got all this stuff, and then I remember like at 2:30 in the morning, a gust of wind came and like knocked down our castle of a house that we had set up. And we're just grabbing boxes, like trying to like stay away from the wind. And you can't sleep because it's cold, right?
No.
There's no fucking sleep. So you have to like journal. They gave us a journal to write about our experience.
And
at the end of the journal, I'm like, I'm never going to be fucking homeless ever in my life.
Note to self, don't be homeless.
And I remember, it was done at 7:30 in the morning, right? We're fucking freezing. I went back to my room and I went back to my bed and I laid down for 2 seconds. And I was like, I'm not even tired. All right. I'm going to go to IHOP and get some breakfast because I'm starving and I'm not homeless. And yeah, ever since that day, I worked like 30 jobs to make sure that I never have to deal with that shit ever again. Because again, I asked myself, I don't know how people do it for like, years and years upon time. And that was the motivation I needed.
Right.
Yeah, no, nothing like experiencing something like that to get you motivated. I mean,
you don't want to go back to the suck.
Yeah. And for me, that was 9 to 5 too, which is why I'm like, this is fantastic. It drives me to be that much more creative and also come up with a lot more interesting stuff too, because the grind is rough.
So that was Thanksgiving time. Then you went back that was the 3 days when you guys drove back to
the East Coast.
Well, we were in Thanksgiving. We were there for about a week. 5 days, 6 days.
Yeah,
something like that. And then we pulled the 3 days back and then jumped like right into what was the convention right after that? Oh, no. It was PAX Unplugged.
Oh, PAX
Then we
Unplugged,
jumped right into PAX Unplugged.
Okay.
Oh, that was rough. So basically we had this huge logistical problem because I'm not even going to go into all of it. Let me just put it this way. I couldn't enjoy Vegas because I was just on my phone the whole time.
Making sure your pallet shows up. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. So basically it came from China. They were supposed to drop a shipping container on our lot of land. That was where it was going to store.
In Arizona.
But then they totally fucked up and the thing arrived and they're like, so you need to figure out how to get this to your property. I'm like, well, what did I pay you for? And I was like, oh, it's here. And I had this whole thing booked like with 5 days or something after it was supposed to arrive. But the day it arrived in LA, they're like, we have no idea what we're doing. So it turned into this huge thing where they were asking me to do the logistics for their logistics company. And then they put me in contact with like their logistics guy who had no idea what the fuck was going on. And then we had to do this whole last minute scramble where we arranged this huge thing because originally we had our second logistics company that was supposed to meet us in Kingman that we had to say, sorry, guys, this other logistics company just fucked everything. And let's put it this way. It became this huge fuck up. We thought we were going to have to make like a 6-hour drive from Kingman to California, but then they said they had their shit figured out, but then they didn't have their shit figured out. And let's just put it this way.
Which port was this? Was it in Long
LA
Beach?
Port. Okay. So it was in the LA port. And then eventually we just had our logistics company go and transload it. And then we had to haul ass to get ahead of the logistics company, which is why we did the drive in 3
back in Connecticut
3 days
before the shipment gets to Connecticut.
So then we get back.
That explains a lot now.
We're racing with a 30-foot trailer versus our, shipment.
We won, I want to say. But then like a day passes and we have to transload this thing and we don't have like palletized stuff or anything. We do it by hand. And I don't know if you felt that game when you felt it. Each one of these cartons is 25
pretty heavy.
pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 25-pound cartons and a good 834 of them, plus a shit ton more stuff. So we got all that off, and then we had to create like 150 backlog orders, and then the very next day drive to Philadelphia, another 4-hour drive, and perform all weekend. That was a very interesting
Sounds like
experience.
entrepreneurship.
Yes. But then we got a little break after that, so that was nice. But,
Nice.
we got a chance to enjoy winter in all its finest.
So I'm hoping this year's a little more smoother, right? Like after those hardships, now it's a little easier this year.
Oh, without a doubt,
logistics.
It's gotten smoother without a doubt, little bit by little bit.
Yeah. So
The shipping container finally made it to the property supposedly in April. So it was a little behind schedule.
It's a bit.
The empty container was just sitting somewhere in California, some suburb of California all this time. And then my dad apparently went down there, couldn't find the container. So one day we're going to find out if they put it in the right lot. But that day won't be today, that's for sure. And at this point, I'm like, fuck it, I don't even want the container anymore.
Yeah,
But-
so this year, our conventions are mainly East Coast located,
Commutable,
so easy commutable.
And by commutable, we're
Within
talking
15
Miami is
hours.
going to be the furthest we go, which is a good 20-hour drive.
Yeah.
But
That you use SuperCon in Miami?
It's Florida SuperCon.
yep, that's
Yeah,
it.
Florida SuperCon. Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to that last year, but just because I haven't been to Miami in so long, and I'm like, I want to check out Miami, but it's like I couldn't.
We ended up having one show cancel on us last minute that we thought we got into. So we're just going to go straight from DC down there and spend a 2-week period, just some beach in Miami. Cause I'm like, fuck
vacation.
it.
Nice.
I don't mind a vacation. So that's going to be our break, our only break until the end of September.
Yeah,
this-
summer gets crazy because there's so many cons like every single weekend.
Yeah.
And then come November, it just dies.
Yeah, I was there's a fig con in November that my buddy told me about. He was like, "Oh, you think you can make it?" And I'm like, "There's nothing in November besides Thanksgiving." I'm like, "I think I could go to that one in Jersey." I'm like, "That's great." I'm like, "All right, I might have time for that. I have time for friends."
Yeah.
All right, for everyone else who doesn't go to cons.
There
But
you
yeah,
go.
like summer gets crazy because I know this month I'll be in California for one, and then you got Philly,
Yep.
Dallas,
Yep.
and there's Awesome Con in DC that third
Yep,
week.
that's the one we're doing before going to SuperCon.
And then SuperCon is the fourth week in June?
Yes.
Or does it all right.
Yeah, fourth week of June. Yeah.
Then 4th of July weekend happens, then whatever happens, and then San Diego Comic-Con. And I'm like, that's it. Summer's like the middle of summer. And then August there's Terrificon. No, Terrificon is the end of July.
Yep.
And then there's Boston Fan Expo.
Yep, that's the one we're doing. We were going to do
all the shows that you just mentioned.
So I'm going to see a lot of you guys, and
I mean,
Just
just
follow the-
BPD all day, every day.
just follow the beacon to us. I mean, you're not going to miss a floating ham in the air. Let's put it that way.
so we just got to get the elephant out of the room.
Yes.
So guys, if you ever hear anyone over here yelling, "Hey, it's Dick Pic Dave," there's a story behind this.
Yes.
And the
Well,
story
I
goes,
think the whole us talking, I think,
Yeah.
started with me yelling across to you. So, where's my coffee? While you
Yeah.
walked in with
A normal
Yeah.
thing she does to
Yeah, you
people
know.
she's never met before.
and the funny thing is, like, I'll get anyone coffee. Hey, you want
And
coffee?
you did get her coffee.
Fine. And I was like, "How do you want your coffee?" And
Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't think it would work, but
you were like, "What?"
I
And
got
was like-
coffee, so I got lucky.
and then I just gave it to you and walked away because I was busy. And then I was like, all right, I didn't even get a chance to like talk to these guys. So then I went over, and I think, we exchanged Instagrams, and you were like Slam Dunk Dave, and I was like, I explained that. Then you gave me your card, and
Well,
you said,
Oh yeah, then
we
the card said that.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the business card on itself says don't send dick pics.
No,
yeah.
hashtag no
And I was like,
No dick pics.
well, but you
And
said
our
you
neighbor
just said
Shout out
you
to
you
Jakey.
specifically said don't send dick pics, and I was like, what?
which started a conversation about
Well,
like
it started with Jackie, who was our neighbor, who does
Yeah.
shout out to Jackie Creations. I think that's, or Copper Jackie. I think that's what her Instagram is.
Yeah.
Who said that she just recently got some dick pics sent, right? And then I think that the conversation somehow turned into you talking about that you're doing a podcast.
Well, how often? No, how often does that really work?
Oh,
Yeah.
So now it's
that's
raised.
what
I was
it
like, when's that even work? And I'm like, you know what? I love to go around and ask people, when did dick pics
1%
actually
of
work?
the
But-
time, it works every time.
yeah. So it's like, what's the percentage in that? And then I was like comparing it to the naked man from
yes.
How I Met Your
Mother.
Mother.
Yeah.
And I went down the rabbit hole of like how I'm gonna construct this whole thing. And then you were like, Dick Pic Dave. And I was like, what? No. And
Yeah, you can
And then
ask people.
we said
like,
we would say that to him when he's randomly talking to people
Yes,
he works with,
and
and
then-
we did.
and then I yelled at you across the booth.
That
like,
was
everyone
just
around.
perfect
I was
timing.
like, oh my god, is that Dick Pic Dave?
it was
I
like
was like,
it was
"The
like perfectly quiet. And I'm behind the booth, and all I hear is, oh my God, is that Dick Pic Dave? And like my jaw like dropped, and I was like, oh shit. Like it wasn't now, not now. You save it for another con. And I think it was like 5 guys like turn around, and shout out to Hive Comics, Jonathan, who had a cream hat. He's like, what? And then JJ is next to me, and he's like, did she just call you Dick Pic Dave?
It does have a ring to it.
It's smoothly, right? Like it's like
I'm so down for this. It should be it should be a thing,
It's like the
yeah, it's gonna
smooth-
happen. Someone's gonna call me Dick
Look
Pic
over
Dave
here.
after this episode. It's gonna be fucking hysterical. Just don't do it in front of my mom. She has no idea.
Does she watch your podcast?
No, she doesn't watch anything. But like the funny thing about it was like we went down this thing when I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that because that's gonna make people send dick pics to me. And then
then we were talking about the going in the streets, and what was that? What was the name of that?
Reviews.
Yeah, yeah.
Reviews
Like
like,
that-
how do you feel about this dick pic? Like, is this above average? What do you think?
like, what do you like about it? And like,
Like, scale from 1 to 10. Like,
just keep on doing these quantitative like surveys on dick pics. But then it was like, then when I was like, I don't want to get an influx of dick pics, right? And then George was like, well, then you can start an OnlyFans with other people's dick pics. And then
That actually is a business model.
it's actually not a bad idea. But yeah. So guys, if you ever hear anyone call me
boss is
Dick Pic
watching it,
Dave,
that this is where you're gonna put your 2 months notice in for selling dick pics on OnlyFans.
And then from this podcast, someone's going to get the idea to do that.
it started here first. We're documenting it. So
We're getting royalties.
There you
for
go.
yeah.
Well,
If you're gonna go around and call yourself Dick Pic, whatever, started here first, guys. And then I was joking about like me announcing like awards at like the porn awards.
Oh yeah,
Like Dick Pic of the year or like all this shit, like showing the best porn stars, and then those
Just
are probably
amazing.
where it works more, right? Like, how many dick pics do you get? Oh my god, my favorite dick is this. All right, guys. So if you hear DPD, now you know.
DPD.
I had to tell people about it because it was just hysterical. It was like one of the funniest things.
Oh, I'm
Yeah, we were
crying.
actually talking about it with our friends earlier today, and they're like, "Who the fuck is Dick Pic?" I think Laura, you made it into a card too.
Yes, you turn.
You've
you're
been-
an
you've
official,
become
I'm a card.
You're an official card.
Oh, I need to
It's
have
not
that
out.
card.
It is
Can I
made.
sign it?
Oh yes, you have to.
DPD official.
You'd be surprised how many of my cards are actually inspired from shit I experience at conventions.
But that's the best thing. I think the idea that you have and what you have here is where you surround yourself with people who have similar likes, right? Everyone likes this like
Dick pics,
dirty
right?
humor, or like people like to laugh, right? And laughing is contagious, laughing is fun.
Yeah.
Before you knew it, we had a group of people around us and we all were talking about fucking dick pics, right? And you start these conversations and then everyone starts sharing ideas, and you guys have something here where you could take some of those ideas and add them to your game and start these expansion packs and all this other stuff. And that's the beauty of it, because it's just like you only gotta gravitate or bring people in that share similar humor. And whether it's dark, whether it's fucking, whatever, it's people gravitate to that because that's fun. And there's a lot of people who enjoy that stuff, but some people are like nervous about talking about it in public, and you get people out of their shell with
And
things
that's
like
actually
that.
one of the philosophies here too. It's satire that also starts dialogues.
Yeah, and that's perfect. And it was like, I think I was wearing, what shirt was I wearing? The Be Kind. I don't know what shirt I was wearing this day.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think it was Be Kind. Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, you're so nice and all this crap. You're not gonna like my stuff." And I was like, "Haha!" Turned the switch, and I became this evil human being that said a lot of crazy things. And then she was like, Jesus Christ, I just said one thing. And I was like, and this is who you get. And that's the thing. You have conversations like with people, and then it's like, oh crap, I didn't know you were like that. You're awesome. And
Yeah.
And now we're all friends.
There you go.
But I just wanted to show some of the stuff that you do have in the game.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you showed me a couple of the pictures here. This is it says X Volume 1.
Yeah. So that's one of the approaches. You know how we were saying it's like seasonings here?
Yeah.
So it's about flavoring the pork. So we basically make people get a lot more cards up front. And
X ways to say I love you.
What was that?
I'm just reading. It says X ways to say I love you. Oh,
and that's
Jesus.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's every answer card in it answers the prompt how to say I love you to that special someone. It could be sweet like a breakfast in bed, but it could also be sour like a black eye. That's how we tell it to people at conventions. But those are just boring cards to sort of get the idea across. Let's put it this way. It gets very weird and abstract in that
like,
one.
What's the perfect birthday gift or surprise? Sexting mom, this.
There you go. A lot of gray area.
Yeah, don't send your mom dick pics. Here's another one, X Volume 2.
Yeah. So basically you could add a little more seasoning. So that's the approach we have, because we don't want you to over season your pork. So you basically get it in increments.
It's already salty.
There you go. You don't want to have too much of that, unless you do. Some people like their pork extra salty.
You know, a lot of water after that. These are great. And then we have another one here, Heart of Emo.
Yep. So that one, interesting thing about that. So when I finished my contract position, and originally I was trying to figure out like the what's next and whatnot, I was doing the generic thing of, you know, what am I going to do with my life? You know, the whole quarter life crisis. Because honestly, finding a good job, and I don't want to be one of those people where it's like, oh, the job market's so shit and whatnot. But it's like you see these job postings where we require a master's degree and it's $15 an hour or whatever. It's just that shit's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. So you know what I will say, the job market's fucking ridiculous, and I'm this is my own opinion. The cost of school tuition just does not equate to like what the job market reflects now. It just doesn't. It's an arms race. Yeah, so you 100%. Get all these people chasing this rat race of let's get our degree, but now everyone's getting the degree, so the degree's worth nothing. So let's go for our master's degree, but then anyway. So I did the whole generic thing of let me go get my master's degree. So I started doing my master's degree in what was it? Business analytics and project management. Yeah. And I was in this program having just jumped from a communications degree. So it's a major jump from my background up to this point. And I said, you know, this kind of sucks. Meanwhile, I'm working on this project because at this point I have maybe 1,200 cards or whatever. You know, I've measly 1,200 cards. Now I'm at a little over a little over $7,000 of cards. And I was still working on it. The cards, it's interesting too, because and this is sort of just an interesting thing. I like to have sort of an introspective thing when I look at my own work, because it tells me how my mind works as well. Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting, this is sort of a artistic experiment to me, where the artistic experiment is me doing it obsessively over a course of time, where my own mind changes over the course of years. So if I wanted to, I can't really create the work I did originally, just as the new work doesn't really tie into the older work. So you could see different evolutions and progressions.
So it constantly develops.
So no matter what, it all follows the same kind of idea, because it's the same person creating the content.
Yeah.
But it's different because the brain is maturing, and also just different thoughts are occurring in different life experiences.
Yeah, the growth behind the game.
So basically, he was depressed, and you created.
So I decided. Well, hold on. So I left the school, which was one of the hardest decisions I made in my life, because I'm a young guy at that point, early 20s, and I said, well, not that I'm an old guy now. I mean, I'm only 31, but I was a much younger guy then, and I decided to leave this program because of I wanted to pursue what I was doing here. I took a roll of the dice, and I wasn't sure I made the right choice, because, you know, when your parents hear you left graduate school to go pursue a game which is notorious for failing spectacularly, it raises some concerns. But I'm
100%.
also one of those people who likes to siphon as much experience as possible. And I like experimentation. I went to a fine arts college, so this kind of shaped the way I think, I guess. The slogan of the school is think wide open. So I started tapping into my emotions as a source, because that's like the most generic thing you could tap into when it comes to poetry. So I started going a more poetic direction with Into the Heart of Emotions. The goal was not to be a depressive set. Of course, I had a more, I was more in tune with the depressive set. And fun thing to know, the depression pack that's coming out, a lot of the influences were from that period of time. Because I basically, I learned, I don't know if you know too much about Mark Twain, but the way Mark Twain did his books was he never finished one book. He would basically work on multiple books simultaneously. And that's kind of how I work on my expansions as well.
Nice.
So
different categories, pretty much.
Yeah. But then they all come together because as
same thought process.
Yes. And then it becomes how do you organize it together? And once again, it taps into different mindsets at different periods of time over the different years that this has been going on, which creates a very interesting dynamic because it's all the same mind creating it. The experiment.
Yeah.
So I went into the Heart of Emotions, and of course, depression was one of the big ones, but that wasn't the goal of it. The goal was to just capture every strong emotion. So for me, it became a brain flex of how do I capture different emotions, while simultaneously being different enough from everything else, but not so different that they can't work together.
So
if that makes sense.
Yeah. So no, from what you're saying, so regardless of the expansion pack, so now I'm thinking of the expansion packs now. Can you use any of them with any other expansion pack?
Yep, 100%.
Okay. That's what I'm like. You're saying that I'm like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. It makes it a lot easier.
We have one pack that is called rose-colored glasses, which is like sunshine and rainbows, like Hallmark in card forms, very cute and innocent and wholesome, right? As an overall arching theme. But if you throw it in with the messed up shit, like what can O.J. Simpson always masturbate to?
A rescue puppy's love.
You know, it's the childhood trauma in the making. You take something really cute and it becomes really, really dark and twisted, just mixing it up with something that's not appropriate, you know?
Those are definitely cards.
Yeah. I'm not, those aren't made up.
I'm like, that's freaking awesome. Okay.
What could O.J. Simpson masturbate to is in the adult set. A Rescue Puppy's Love is in the rose-colored glasses set. Yeah. And interesting enough, the rose-colored glasses set, if you want a sort of timeline of how these expansions came to be, so I like challenging myself. That's always how it's been. So when I was doing the testing, because originally I just created cards for the sake of creating it, but I play tested the hell out of it over and over again, you know, in a healthy, obsessive way of a few hundred times it was not healthy. A lot of play testing.
Yeah.
You have to, which is why part of the reason now that all these different, you know how I was talking about how there's different games that are hopefully going to be developed in different genres, but all tie together. Yeah. The one that I think is most ready is the Punishing Board. And that's going to be a very interesting one where it's actually just a 1 to 4 player game where I don't know if you play Magic the Gathering. That one's going to be a whole lot of fuck you to your friends on another level, but it ties in. It can be played on its own, but then also tied in directly to the game itself. That's the most interesting. Okay. But basically, during playtesting, I would ask people, "What do you want? What do you want? What do you want?" And people would say, "Go darker, go darker, go darker, go darker." And then I said, "You know what? How dark do you people want it?" So then I just went full blown as fucked up as I could. I said, "You know what? Let's just take away any sort of human decency here and make this as fucked up as possible." And then they're like, "You got it." I'm not even going to share what the card was because it is so inappropriate and it's probably never going to see the light of day. No, it's just not.
Well, we'll do it off the record when I stop recording.
Sure. But basically, people said you nailed it. So I tapped into, I guess you could say, method acting to say what is the embodiment of this personality. And let's just put it this way. The influences for this were serial killer, dark web, and just overall offensive criminal. And during this period, and mind you, I had a lot of downtime, so I would just obsessively work on this. And I compared the 3-week period where a majority of this work got done to, I don't know if you know the story of Heath Ledger, like he
locks himself in a room for like God knows how much time to get into the character.
That. And people attribute that to what fucked with his head. and led to him overdosing on his medication.
Yeah.
I understand that so much better after the research I had to do alone in my room, researching to make this the perfect thing. I nailed it, by the way.
Unbiasedly spoken.
I did. And now I'm actually going to release a very, very, very watered down version as a convention exclusive.
Nice.
But a
Which
very
convention?
Get to
Do we
the
know
Anyway.
yet?
So
he's
I felt
scrambling here.
this is
No
sorry.
biggie.
So
No biggie.
so I
Your
felt
time to shine.
yeah. Well, I
I'm
felt
trying to keep him in line. You know.
yes.
Get
Yes.
to the
I
point.
will digress. So I felt really dirty doing this. So I was like, I gotta feel clean. So I was like, if I went full blown dark, I gotta go full blown light. But the thing is, it creates this very interesting dynamic as the two sort of combine with each other. So the super nice and super fucked up mix like water and oil, I guess you could say, but also it does become very interesting.
Like my mind just thought about the darkest shit, like the most religious shit, and then you put those two together, and it's like that's going to be a hell of a time.
Yes, and that's exactly what happened. Which is why I'm going to release a watered down version, because I can't go full blown. The name of the expansion that's never going to be released is called Into the Abyss. But the watered down version that's going to be released, and when I say watered down, I mean watered down, but still extremely fucked up, is called Gazing at the Abyss, because we never go into the abyss. Okay. And the
what's could be the real clean version?
What was that? The Gazing at the Abyss is the cleaner version, I'll say. The one that won't is still acceptable as a convention exclusive with a higher price point to make people not want to buy it.
But what if someone buys it?
Well, it's going to have a sensitivity tax.
Yeah, it's called. We're going to have an insensitivity tax for it, and
have people sign a waiver.
Yeah, that kind
like
of shit.
An NDA.
I mean, it's not. It's not cute or anything. It's just fucked up. But then rose-colored glasses came out of it. What was that?
I'm like, it's all right. Have you watched the news and all this shit? The world's fucked up. It's all good.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah. Well, at the same time, you got it. You don't want to make it more fucked up. And
yeah, of course.
You feel dirty. As long as there's an understanding of what it is, that's why we're going to discourage people from doing it.
Yeah.
We're still going to give it as an option and, forbidden fruit and whatnot. But rose-colored glasses came after that. And then the influence from me leaving my graduate school led to creating Into the Heart of Emotions. And then I wanted to experiment. So I went a direction of I wanted to create my own world that was sort of like Adventure Time and Dr. Seuss. So I created this experimental set called Into the Realm of Make-Believe, where everything was like subtle innuendos and a bunch of other stuff, where it basically became this thing where every flavor text referenced each other. So one card would reference another card, which would reference another card, which would reference another card, which then references this card, which you get the idea.
Yeah, you went down a rabbit hole, my friend.
Yes. And basically every card referenced each other in some way.
Yeah.
Which allowed someone who is truly obsessive to actually pair together and get an idea of what the world was actually like if you pair it all together. All while having subtle innuendos that make it sort of entertaining, where it's like, well, what the fuck is this?
Do you have like one of those like web rooms, like where you start like, this is the game, these are different sets of of packs, this is all the answers we have for all of these, and you have to make sure that everything at least goes back to like the main idea of the game. Well, like that's what the thought process feels like.
Exactly. And that's one of the things too that makes it interesting when I was talking about how I'm going to start releasing different genres of games that all tie together. The core concept is questions, answers, but then at the same time, you could take different things, and as long as it ties together with one notch or another, within 1 degree of either changing the board component or the card component in some way, it all ties together in one giant umbrella. And it's going to be something I don't think anyone's done before. Which
I don't think so, unless you keep it the same game, like
It is a tedious process though, because you have to cross-reference the different sets and see that there's no overlap of the same content, or you didn't do the same card twice, and it's a flavor text similar to other cards, so you have to change it. So there's a lot of like tedious back and forth and control that you have to
And that's one of the interesting things too. I actually find that over the course of several years, my mind goes the same places. So once in a while, an identical card will be created, totally independent of each other. and then I find a way to change it so now the two cards actually complement each other to create a more interesting dynamic. It's not like Cards Against Humanity where you got big black dick and then bigger blacker dick, but
Yeah.
rather two things that tangentially, I'll say, sort of go together, but are different enough that each one develops its own meaning. But when combined, it develops as something even better, if that makes any sense at all.
Like, it'd be funny if you do like a duplicate packet, like back in the day, it's like the top favorite cards, and you just do that. Everything's just duplicates. It's like, sorry guys, whoops. Just throwing ideas out there. That sounds all right. So next time I think I'm going to see you guys at Philly next.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, Dallas is going to be sooner than that, right?
No.
Philly's the first week of
Never
June.
mind.
Dallas
Okay,
is the
yeah. So
second.
Philly's going to be the next one for
All right,
us. We're doing
I'm
the
gonna
Indy,
start
and then
looking
we're
at these.
doing. Are you doing Comic Palooza?
No.
Well, if you guys did well at Baltimore Comic Con and you did well at Wicked Comic Con, the person who told us that Baltimore Comic Con was their can't miss show said that Comic Palooza was their other can't miss show, but that's in Houston, so it is a little bit of a.
I haven't been in Houston in forever. I'll be in San Antonio in a couple of weeks. I had a lot of traveling going on the next couple of weeks because of my 9 to 5. Not even this.
Oh, there you go. So you
Because
still
of
get
my
to
9 to 5.
experience it all,
Those
just
mofos.
behind a keyboard.
Yeah. No, I'm actually going to a client conference.
Oh,
And
cool.
Okay.
I never been to San Antonio. So it's a funny story. Right before I left work today, my coworker and I were like, "Yo, how far are we from the fucking Alamo?" Because I'm like, that's all I know about San Antonio, the fucking Alamo that's in Texas. And we watch all these movies where you think the Alamo is like surrounded by desert and all this stuff, right? And it's like you
Yeah.
go into the Alamo and it's like there's one building in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, apparently we're like a block away from it. There's like a movie theater across the street, and I'm like, that's
Maybe
not what I
150
thought it
years
was.
ago. I mean,
Yeah,
Oh,
but it's
neat.
like I'm still thinking like you have to like go outside of San Antonio and like go walk through some sand and stuff, and then like, oh, the Alamo is like a block and a half away, and there's an AMC movie theater across the street. Okay,
we can watch movies about the Alamo.
yeah, probably. And I'm like, all right, cool. I just got to use my per diem while I'm out there because you got to use all the money that corporate allows you to use all the time. Give me my fucking credit card points. Well, first off, thank you for explaining the game. I'm like, all right, we were just too busy talking about dick pics at WickedCon, and now I'm like, I got to go actually like look at the game and like actually look at the game instead of just talking about dick pic guys. Like, stop distracting me.
No worries. I'm having fun.
That's
And I
awesome.
mean, there's a lot more than that. I mean, there's like another 7 or so expansions on top.
Yeah, well, you said there's 7. You have 7,000 cards. I hope. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more expansion packs, but I think that's what makes it great because you got to constantly have more expansion packs, and you got to have people who enjoy the game going to you at cons or going to the site gameofham.com, guys, and buying these expansion packs. So it's like it's cool, and then you're gonna have people come up to you and talk about the fun cards that they enjoyed, and probably share some of their ideas. You gotta write those shits down, and then it's a fun interactive thing to do.
It's also sorry, didn't interrupt.
No, go ahead.
So it's funny because some of the people that are returning customers, like I love those people. There's this kid Charlie, shout out to Charlie, who messaged us on Facebook, no, on Instagram, and he then actually showed up to one of the shows and brought one of the cards to get it signed.
Oh, nice.
And he keeps messaging us on Instagram and going back and forth. So he went to a Chili's, and it gives you a little computer on the table where you can leave feedback or whatever.
Yeah.
About the experience, and he put down like, you should check out Game of Ham. Add some ham to your, it's really funny.
And he got backseat tickets. He got
backstage tickets
for some concert.
And he wanted to introduce them to the Game of Ham.
Really?
We never had the chance to talk about it.
That's awesome.
Like our number one advocate. It's
Yeah.
just really funny to have this tiny little fan base,
You
So
get a little rep over there just walking around talking about it.
yeah, you learn all these funny people at these conventions. It's just really fun community. So I really enjoy that.
That's my biggest thing about like the convention circuit, where like you meet people like that, and then it's like every time you see them, it's like it's your friend at the con, right?
Yeah.
It's like, because I have a rule at cons. A lot of my friends know this, some of them don't, clearly, because they fucking text me and call me when I'm at the con. If you're not at the con, you're not important right now. Like, as horrible as that sounds, because I get into con mode, there's a huge community in the con circuit, right? And there's
Yeah.
people that you interact with and you come across with, and it's like this little community. It's like, hey, I'm gonna walk away from my booth real quick, and you watch it, and it's like, all right, cool, and you trust them, and so it's like this whole other community that no one knows about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when outsiders try texting me or calling me and asking me for stuff, I'm like, yo, like, I'm sorry, like everyone knows my phone. I see my messages, fucking smartwatches, and like my watch vibrates, and that helps because like if someone's at the con and they message me, I'm like, oh crap, I got to go over there, right? Because I'm working, and I'm getting stuff signed and talking to people. But there's a whole community, and then there's people that you see. Like we have clients that we see at different shows, and they're like, oh man, I didn't know you guys were going to be here, and it's like, yeah, hey, we're here, and and it's cool because like your story is like, here's a fan of the game who is like, yo, you guys gotta fucking play this shit. I'm gonna talk about this shit like I'm working for them, and that's cool. That's a Charlie. You said Charlie.
Yeah.
You keep on doing your thing, buddy.
You even made some friends at conventions that you keep in contact with.
Yeah, one guy keeps sending me hentai. It's great,
It's a hentai challenge.
Yeah. Shout out to Joshy.
Yeah, you see, and that's what happens. And it's like, I don't know. I love going to cons for that reason. I started going to cons a lot last year. Last year I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start going to cons. And then after my first one, MegaCon, I linked up with Capture Collectibles, and now I go to more cons. And I'm like, great. I don't mind this. I just save my money and travel, and try to make a business out of it somehow, which I'm not going to talk about. But and it's not dick pics.
It could be though.
It could. You know what? You never know how the year goes. If the economy hits hard, sex always sells. So we got to figure that one out eventually.
OnlyFans. There you go.
OnlyFans.
You can do that even when you're homeless. So there you go.
And it's really interesting too, because the thing I find really interesting about con culture, because I love sort of experiencing these different I don't even know how to articulate it. Yeah, a little bit. There's like this sociological thing going on where as you go to these different cons, you end up overlapping with different subcultures, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean specifically like you go to a horror con, which by the way, we did our first horror con this year. And it was like, you see this color scheme of black and red and all this. And then just all of a sudden the bright pink and blue game of ham with a holographic fan right next to a guy who's like a zombie. But anyway, yeah. But like you see in the Northeast, certain circuit of different vendors, for example, versus you go out to Chicago and it's like, who you're going to see at these different shows. And once in a while, you'll see someone like Scully Couture, who was our Northeast, and shout out to Scully Couture. They're great. They sell jewelry and whatnot. We see them all over the Northeast. You've probably seen their booth before too. They were at Wicked Comic-Con. You probably saw them there. But then they appeared at C2E2 and we're like, we didn't even know you guys went this far. So there's like this overlap. And then we met Ben over in Idaho, of all places. But then we see him all over the West Coast. And then it's like on the East Coast, we see someone with his stuff. And we're like, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun to see that, and like it is like a community, and like where a lot of people trade, right, and help each other out. And at the end of the day, it's everyone wants to see everyone else win, and no one really talks about that. There's a lot more people helping each other out because we all want to succeed.
Yeah,
there are some negative things, but we don't focus on that here. That's like
whatever.
That's like the minimal thing, right? There's a lot more positives in this community, in most communities, than anything. There's a lot more positive in the world than there is negative. It just gets amplified because that's what people focus on. Right. But there's so much good, and it's like, when you notice it, it's like it's addicting. It's like, oh man, I can't wait to go to the next con because I see what we're going to see there, and it ends up being great. So I'm happy that things are working out. Because man, you guys took a fucking leap of faith.
Yeah,
Jesus, and it seems fun. It seems kind of fun too. Like get to travel the country, get to meet different people, get to witness what it is to be cold in Arizona, and it's all these experiences a lot of people really don't get that because they don't take the leap of faith, they don't take the chance, and sometimes, as you guys said, and Jackie was involved, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. You just got to do it, and that's flipping awesome. But now I want to get into the Q&A round, and this is
my
really
gosh.
quick. You guys are both going to have to answer these, though.
Oh, sure.
All
And
right.
I'll always let ladies first.
Oh.
Go ahead, Laura.
Very kind.
All right. So the first question is pizza style, New York or Chicago?
Oh, New York.
For me, I gotta say, I'm gluten free,
Okay.
and I have never had the Chicago pizza. And it's funny you bring it up because we've gone to Chicago, and I've said to Laura, I want to try the Chicago pizza.
Illuminati's.
Every time it just never worked out. We found a place that sold gluten-free pizza and
Okay.
Chicago pizza, but it ended up being I had to get the New York style pizza, and then she has the deep dish pizza in front of me, and she says it sucks, and I'm like,
Where'd you
this
go?
one-
Hold on. Where'd you get the deep dish?
Giordano's, which is supposedly like one of the good ones.
No, you have to go to Illuminati's. Go to
Never-
Lose. Next time, go to there's
I'll
3 of them,
try
I
it again.
think.
You said Illuminati's?
No, Lose. Illuminati's.
Illuminati.
Oh, so not Okay.
No, not
Oh,
Illuminati.
you gotta go to Illuminati's.
Go to Illuminati's. I'm like, oh my god, what is all these
There
symbols?
you go, the
It's not a
mystery of
cult.
the. There you go.
It's
Okay.
a Chicago
And
pizza cult.
and I agree, definitely New York. I just when it came to Chicago pizza, that's where I went the first time, and then the Sunday when I was walking to the McCormick Convention Center, I was like, let me try a different location, a random location, and I
Yeah.
was like, I fucked up. So 100% New York,
New
but you
York.
have to go to Lose if you're gonna have a decent deep dish because
Okay.
everything else is too soupy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gross. Lose is not.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to.
And then once it's not hot enough anymore, the
It's just
cheese
fucking
gets hard.
chunky
and
ass cheese.
Oh, it's rough.
Yeah,
She was complaining the whole time she ate it. Let's just put it that way.
yeah.
I
You gotta burn your mouth and eat it like mad quick, and you don't.
Yeah,
wanna
you
that.
do.
It looked good.
You're
I
like,
mean,
Cheese is there's too much cheese is awesome, but no.
there's a limit to it.
New York pizza, 100%.
New York, yes. Yeah.
Lakes or beaches?
Beaches.
beach.
Awesome, man. You both agreed on that. Sweet. Genre of music.
Ooh. Okay. Now, do you have to pick one?
Whatever your soul feels like telling
Okay.
you.
I love 90s trash. Okay, 90s trash pop. My shit. Early 2000s.
German trash pop.
Oh, German trash pop. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame. I'm gonna Spotify it. I'm gonna Spotify it tomorrow
DJSC
morning.
or whatever.
Work out.
That's when you like 10 views in. But I like early 2000s and then classic 80s rock.
Okay, can't go wrong.
My 3 go-to genres.
And I mean, if you were to put her her label of my taste in music, which I'm all over the place, she calls it gay emo music. I like to call it alternative. Alternative.
I call it
I'm
gay
not.
emo
I
music.
have like
and not in a derogatory term.
I like hear some songs on the radio or I hear them wherever I am and I save some songs, and that's sort of my thing. So a lot of my music is like pop-ish, I guess, but not because I'm per se into pop more than other genres.
It's catchy.
It's just what I
keep lying
hear
to
more.
yourself.
And
it's
it's like
gay emo music.
I went
That's
through a
literally-
phase where I went crazy downloading music.
There's a phase.
Well, yeah, in high school. So
Yeah, Napster and Morpheus and
Music
LimeWire.
yeah,
YouTube
back in the
videos.
Frostwire LimeWire days, which
Yeah.
kids today won't understand. But yeah, so a lot of my music is from way back then. I guess you could say 2010s is where
Yeah,
a lot of my music is, but
big
that's not to say that's
2010s.
my taste in music. I guess alternative,
Okay. All right.
aka gay emo music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then just because a lot of things are comic related, I always ask this question: DC or Marvel?
Oh. Marvel. Sorry.
You don't have to apologize. The movies are awesome.
Well,
I
no, not
do-
even just the
I-
movies.
He's the one who got me into superhero stuff. I never watched anything before I met him. So I enjoy Marvel more than I enjoy DC. But I fucking hate Captain America. I want him to be known by everyone. I think he's the lamest person on the planet.
And go
In
figure.
the universe, really.
Go figure. You're surrounded by them at C2E2 this year.
Yeah. I'm not careless.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Marvel too, but I mean, I think I've heard this description once where when it comes to DC, the villain and hero sort of is black and white, versus when it comes to Marvel, it's a little bit more gray area. I mean, Magneto is one of the more interesting villains I would say in the
Yeah, he's pretty. Yeah, he's a pretty legit villain.
because there's
I
like a
him.
complex dynamic there where you don't necessarily disagree with him, and I guess that's what Marvel's a little bit better known for, the gray area.
Yeah,
Why I like
I feel
them.
like this most villains in general, they all have, most villains think they're the superhero of their story, and that's where it's like, are they? And then whatever. From on my end, then you watch the Joker, and it's like society created this guy.
Oh, that was
Oh,
fantastic.
I love the
Yeah.
Joker.
Yeah, I went to the movie premiere like the day before New York Comic Con, and that was a Wednesday. And I walked out of it, and I'm like, I can't talk to anyone about this movie.
It's
Yeah.
interesting you said that because I don't get affected by movies very often. And
Yeah.
when I left the Joker movie, I said to her, I don't think I could talk about this movie.
You can't. It's so because it's
And
that dark.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah,
It's like this left me in such a weird mental state. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a powerful movie.
that's what made it so good.
Yeah.
Because it was like you understand him, right? It's
Yeah.
like you lose your shit, and then
You lose faith in humanity, really, with that.
well, the
Apparently this one now has Lady Gaga in it, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
it says it's going to be somewhat of a musical.
Oh, I'm gonna.
I'm not a writer. I'm not a director, and when we do reviews sometimes on trailers, and I always say the same thing. I'll wait for the movie to come out. I don't know. When the Joker was getting filmed or casted, everyone was like, "Joker doesn't have an origin story," and everyone was like bitching about it. And I'm like, "Yo, what if he does now?"
Yeah.
You know? And then you watch the Joker, and like, it's an amazing movie because it goes like any movie that makes you go through this thing of emotions, or
Yeah.
making you feel like awkward, or like the moments like you don't want to look because it's like, oh, what the fuck, I don't want to see this shit. And it's like those are great movies because they tap like inner emotions.
Yeah.
And when the movie was done, everyone who said all this shit about the Joker not having an origin story, they all fucking, oh, the movie was great, so shut the fuck up. I'm the worst. So I always wait for the movie to come out. I try to keep a
Well, that's an interesting change if they're going for a musical direction, because I think the first movie, the director was saying their influence was like 80s mob movie almost, or like that kind of tone to it. So to go to a musical, that's going to be an interesting.
He got a lot from Taxi. Was it the movie?
Yeah, that kind of thing.
I love this. Is like rapid fire questions, and we're like just.
No, it's a cool because this is what happens, which is great. The next one, dinner with anyone dead or alive. If you could have dinner with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh, this is going to be controversial, but Helen Keller, because I think she's a poser.
Wait, someone said that. What was it? They were like, I saw that on TikTok recently, where someone was like, "I want to meet Helen Keller because there's no way she wrote all those books."
Two things, like, if there's the same question of someone, if you could get in a fight with someone, I would choose Helen Keller, because if she's real, then it's an easy fight. But if it's not real, then exposure.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Understandable.
And nobody has done it since that I know of. So
well, that's what makes her so unique, Laura. Come on.
No fucking way.
That's gonna be a card somewhere. How about you, George?
You have Helen Keller crying in a corner.
That is a card. In the other. Yeah. For me, I think I would choose Einstein, only because I'd be curious how he thinks, because he's so abstract in his way of thinking, while also it sounds like a very generic
I am
thing.
judging your answer, but who would you pick, DPD?
Me? My answer is so dumb. I grew up watching and idolizing Michael Jordan. That's one person I just want to hang out and like smoke a cigar with, have a fucking some scotch and shit, and just like hear other stories that no one's supposed to listen to, because I know how much he shared on his documentary, but I know there's more. So it's like I'd rather just talk to him. But if I go like I don't know, you guys went with someone like died. I don't know, like Genghis Khan or fucking like Alexander the Great, because I'm like, yo, like what the fuck is up with you guys?
You need therapy.
Like you guys went in, like, yo, I want to like, yo, Genghis Khan went fucking nuts, like pulling people apart and all that shit. Like, yo, what was the thought process behind it? Why though?
You had a
like,
thing with yogurt?
Well, okay. Well, fun thing about Genghis Khan and yogurt. That is part of the reason he was able to conquer the world was because of yogurt. Because essentially they pioneered feeding an army on the road. So that was their thing. And someone would slight him, so he would wipe out an entire village kind of deal.
Yeah, that's what he would do. And I'm like, holy shit, that guy's
And I forget what
nuts.
the percentage is, but he's one of those.
Kind of badass.
There's 2 super ancestors I know of. One from like 50,000 years ago that no one knows. And then there's Genghis Khan, where if you're from Asia, there's a high chance you're related to Genghis Khan.
Because he was, he was doing the hibbity dibbity with a lot of ladies.
Yeah.
That he did.
He has a big family.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Yeah.
He was bumping uglies. I don't know. Being nice about it, I guess.
Yes.
He was way worse than that, guys. History is fucking dark.
Yes.
If you could eat one fast food for the rest of your life, has to be like one certain restaurant, which is fucking gross.
Chain of restaurant. I have not done many restaurants in the United States, so I can't.
Hey, you went on a fast food run.
Yeah,
you got
I
the
did
experience.
I did Burger King, McDonald's, and KFC. That's all I ever tried. But
So from those 3, who will you pick? None of them, because they're gross.
Well, hold on. We got to ask a follow-up question. Is this like a die from diabetes kind of situation?
No.
Yeah, any health
Okay,
risks?
no, it's not going to affect your health.
Okay.
Okay, so no constipation or blowing your brains out.
Just dying.
That's great.
No super
or gaining 1,000 pounds. None of that.
Yeah.
Which is tough because fast food's gross.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do love French fries.
Oh, which one? Well, so which French fries you thought was better, Burger King or McDonald's?
I don't remember. I got so
You like the
violently
KFC
sick.
wedges?
I got so violently sick that I did not want to eat that again. So
okay, good for you.
The McFlurry came with some fury. Let's put it that way.
Okay, that could do it.
Well, it didn't help that our friend convinced her to do extra M&Ms.
It never ended. I feel like every bite got worse. But got worse.
Did he like?
How did you get it everywhere?
I finished it, but I suffered. Every bite, I suffered.
So, all right. So good. So you're not doing fast food after this question.
No.
George?
He can't. He's gluten-free. So
I mean, I don't even remember
the choice
what
was
fast
made
food.
for him.
I don't even remember what fast food really tastes like at this point.
You said double cheeseburger?
I used to have a lot. No, McDonald's. I used to have double cheeseburger a lot.
That was a college thing, wasn't it?
What was that?
Was that college?
No, before college.
Well, he
by college, I gave up fast food. I grew up off fast food basically, and that shit fucks you up. So I was cured of ever wanting it again by the time I made it to by the time I finished high school. But if I could go back and it wasn't like a die from diabetes kind of situation, off my memory, which you got to take with a 12-year grain of salt, probably go with Burger King. I mean, I don't even know Chick-fil-A and Popeyes or any of these modern ones.
I'm not too crazy about them. I think I'm a Burger King guy as well. Something about that Whopper. Here's one. All right. If you could eat, this is a weird question because it's like similar to this one, but it's like you could like play around with it. If you could eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be? Similar to what we just said, but it has to be like if you're doing burgers, it's just burgers for the rest of your life. If it's
diabetes
pizza,
and health risk free, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Pastizzo.
Like if it's tacos, it's tacos for the rest of your life. But of course, there's options, right? Like I always say pizza. I love pizza. If I want to eat breakfast, you throw an egg on it.
Well, can you change the toppings on
100%?
All right, that makes it more interesting. I mean, I'd still go with pastizzo, which is like Greek lasagna.
That sounds, I've had that. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, that's my go-to.
I would go with tomatoes is my crack cocaine, really. But you can make a lot of things with tomato. I'm also allergic to that now, turns out. Fun fact.
What?
Yeah, I know. It sucks because I was religiously eating tomatoes and now I'm whatever. I still eat them because I don't care. But I would say no, I go with potatoes because you can so much with potatoes. So
yeah, you do say you like fries, so that's
fries.
And you could do so much with it. You could do loaded potatoes. You could do
loaded potatoes. You
mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes.
And you could do anything with the mashed potatoes. You could add cheese. You could add meat. You could add anything. Like it's like you could make potato salad.
So if you said
Potato
sushi,
salad's
can you
good.
have any kind of sushi then?
Well, yeah, you
So
can
you
make
could
your
have
own.
like a
It's just
wide
whatever.
variety of sushi.
You just got to eat that all the damn time. For me, I say pizza, right? Because pizza, I can make a pizza taco. You just shove mad stuff in it and you fold it, and it's a pizza taco.
That's a
And
calzone. That's what.
yeah, there's that. So there's like, for breakfast, I'll have, well, I used to like. There's a place here at Farmers Market in Troy, New York. The Space to Fazio's. They have breakfast pizza, and it's just yesterday's pizza with an egg on it.
I love that.
Yeah, you get that in a cup of coffee, and you're off to go. Like you're good.
Done.
Love it.
Easy.
That's actually pretty solid. I mean, there's this place near us that has something called the Tartufo pizza, where they basically just do a almost poached egg right in the middle of the freaking thing,
Awesome.
and it's actually really good with truffles and whatnot.
That sounds pretty good. That's pretty fancy.
Look,
It was two pinkies though.
the ham squad can afford fancy egg pizza.
It's like,
so.
listen, I'm happy with my dollar slices. I'm not trying to pay like $15 for a pizza in the morning, but I'm pretty sure it's very flavorful.
And you're based out of like the Manhattan, New York area,
No,
right?
he's Albany.
No, I'm in Albany.
Oh, Albany, way up.
Come
Yeah,
on.
okay.
I'm originally from North Jersey, which is like right outside of Lincoln Tunnel, Union City, Jersey City area.
Where
Okay.
it smells really bad.
Yeah, the beginning of the Jersey.
So,
yeah,
that was when you were telling that story about the box. The first thing I wanted to ask was, did it also smell?
that's what.
Because I say to Laura whenever we do our drive, and you could ask her.
It's the beginning of the turnpike.
I say, follow your nose to Jersey.
Yeah, but I was like, George, did you just rip one? He's
And
like,
she asks
"Are
me
you
it every time.
serious?"
She asks me it every time, and it's like, no, we're just in Jersey.
Yeah, once you pass like that. All right, so like
Harbor.
once you pass that like little bridge in the
Yeah.
turnpike, and like you start descending, that area right there is mostly swamp.
Yeah.
So you're just sniffing it, and then when you start seeing the airport, it goes away. And
Yeah.
it's like it's just that area right there, and everyone's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Jersey stinks." Like, no, it's the one area that everyone fucking passes and think Jersey stinks.
Dirty Jersey for a
It
reason.
does. I
And
mean,
then once you pass the airport area, it's like all green. That's it. And it's like no one talks about that part of Jersey. It's always, Jersey smells. I'm like, how far down did you go in Jersey? Do you just stop at like Sea Caucus? I'm like, oh, it stinks. Let me turn around and make a U-turn.
the middle of the turnpike.
So there you go. That just added another layer to the homeless story.
I love this.
Adding the smell to the experience. Okay.
Yeah, everyone shits on Jersey. So I'll shit on Ohio.
Like shit.
It's Jersey and Ohio. Like
I'm gonna shit on every other state. No, I love Jersey. One place if you could pick one place to live for the rest of your life, where would it be? You can't move the rest of your life. Done. You're stuck there.
Germany.
I've never been. I got to check it out.
One of the cool things about Germany that as an American you could appreciate is they just have these random like castles all over the place, like little nothing castles.
Yeah.
And you ask her, who's lived near it her whole life, what is that? Oh, just some random castle.
Someone's castle.
But
Yeah.
I live right at I used to live right at the border to France. So when we went up on the castle, you have the view all over France.
And when you go to the France side, like Verdun, it's the only place where you could see these giant craters to this day from
World War I.
shells
snap.
went up in 1917.
Jesus.
cool.
Yeah,
That
no,
sounds
it's,
pretty cool. There's so much history when you go into Europe and other places outside of the country, outside of the US. It's like,
yeah,
it's pretty sick.
yeah. And apparently up until the 50s, my grandma grew up in that place. She was saying that you could still see the bayonets from soldiers that got buried alive by dirt that just covered them.
Jesus.
So yeah,
That's
no,
dark.
that's a weird experience.
Okay, so where would you
But
wanna
yes,
live?
for me, I would choose just about any non-tourist place, tourist island in Greece, because that water is beautiful and the beaches are incredible.
I've seen pictures. It looks great.
What would you choose? You can't say Jersey.
It won't be Jersey. It's tough. Like it's like places I've been, right? I can't compare it to places I haven't been. That's so fucking hard. I like San Diego.
Okay.
Like I like the beach area there. I like the downtown. People are friendly as shit.
There you go.
It
Unlike
doesn't rain much. Doesn't snow. Fucking snow sucks. And it's never really that cold. Like, I was there. I think the lowest it was when I was there was like 45 degrees, and you just wear a hoodie and you're fine. It's like I'll love to have less clothes in my closet. So, but besides that, yeah, I've been to the Dominican Republic. That's too hot, and everyone asks for money. Like, leave me the fuck alone. They know I'm American. Hey, you got American dollars? Leave me alone.
Just
I'm
about
tall,
any
so
of
they
the
know I'm
islands down
American.
there.
And then the last question. This was from our last guest. We had. Oh, this is actually from Rich.
Oh, there you go.
He said, "If you were an action figure, how many points of articulation would you have?"
What does that even mean?
You know the joints that move.
Oh,
The
that.
joints and stuff. Yeah, it's like.
Why did it call articulations? I thought you press a button and says something. Like that's a
No,
problem.
just because like the movement by the joints. Such an odd question, but it's like the
Just
elbow would be
kneecaps.
one.
Just
Whatever
kneecaps.
just kneecaps.
Just kneecaps. And the head can turn.
Wrist, elbows, shoulder,
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
neck. So we're looking at 13.
That's very specific.
Well,
Oh,
neck.
head. Okay.
That's
3 on
pretty
each.
solid. I think this has
about
13.
the
Yeah,
hip?
because like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wrist 11, 12, and head 13. Yeah.
Yeah, so 13.
I'm standard.
I go with 2.
Standard issue.
3. 2 kneecaps in the head.
You just kicking and turning.
Stiff arm.
Just flail with it.
Stiff torso too. It
So,
doesn't
so now for our next guest, I know you guys. I kind of prepped you a little bit. What questions do you guys want to ask the next person?
Do we get a question each, or is it just a combined
Let's
question?
go.
Because
Well, let's go
sometimes-
each.
Okay.
Like you're really excited. You popped up and
They
everything.
have to be appropriate.
No.
Okay. Do you want to go or should I?
You go first.
Okay. If you were to receive a dick pic from any person in your life, who would be the best one to get it from and why? And it can't be your significant other.
That is that is genius. This is starting marriage.
I gotta say,
issues right here.
the reason the game came so easy to me is I do this shit without even thinking.
Yeah, which is a problematic.
It's probably a problem.
It's problematic. So I should start a GoFundMe for therapy for him.
You know, it's funny. We started working tips into our whole thing, and she says it's for his therapy
It
fund,
says
and all
on
of
the
a sudden
tip jar it says therapy fund because he needs it, and people's like, yeah, $10.
we started getting such better tips when she said it was for my therapy.
No,
Because they play the game, they're like, yeah, he needs it.
Well, I mean, all of them saw the.
and my
cards.
background, I
Yeah.
have a master's in psychology, so
There you
we
go.
create the problems and then I'll fix it. It's a double, business move.
There you
here.
go, the full.
My question would be, what would I ask them?
You guys are gonna make me officially Dick Pic Dave.
100%.
Well, it's great because you're
Yeah.
the one who's going to ask that question, right?
Exactly. It's gonna be the beginning of it. Might have to keep it on here.
Shoot, I have to think about a question.
Why don't you just do your knees and elbows? Then?
No.
She's like, no, I have a better one.
Just recycle that shit.
Is there something you regret in life, and would you do it again or change it?
Getting deep
And on a
on
scale
that
of
one.
miserable to super miserable. just get as invasive as possible.
Well, without saying what the regret is, obviously people that have a little, privacy here, but
Yeah.
respect that.
Better off. What's your social security?
Just give me the last 4 digits. No, the first 5, and then I'll figure out the
Need your
rest.
security question answers.
What's your
No,
mom's name?
That's awesome. That's gonna be fun. I gotta figure out who my next guest is gonna be. I gotta make sure that my next guest is willing to answer both those questions. I'm not gonna set it up like, hey, you want to be on my podcast? I know exactly what to ask you. Hi, I'm DPD.
Not here with a message for you.
But guys, just before we close off,
Yeah.
just let everyone know, guys, give them a follow on Instagram, right? You guys are Game of Ham on Instagram.
Yep.
On everywhere. So it's Instagram, Twitter,
Believe it or not, there's no competition for Game of Ham as a handle.
Yep.
because you guys go ham. Perfect.
There
You
you go.
do.
every day.
And then definitely check out their site. If you want to check out the game, go to gameandham.com. It's been in the bottom of the screen this entire time. If you haven't noticed, just like the description of the fucking cards, it's there the entire time, guys. I just want to thank you guys for coming on. This was
thanks for
so
having
much
us.
fun.
Yeah, this was
See you at the next con. Your next cons are your next dates. And
yeah.
cons.
Next one, Indiana Comic Con for us. Then we get a gap weekend.
Yeah.
Houston, and then we're at Philly again with you.
Be at Philly and we're at Dallas together. So if you guys hear anyone say Dick Pick Dave or any other fun things like that, just know it's them. Just follow whoever's yelling Dick Pick Dave.
You gotta take responsibility.
There you go.
I'm gonna have to wear a shirt that says DPD or something, and then
Oh,
we'll
100%.
just go for
Or a
that.
hat.
With a if you know, you know.
If you know.
Yeah, one of those. Hashtag. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Make sure you give them a follow. Once again, Ham Squad, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
And guys, that's the end of the episode. Till next time.
Okay.
Bye.